Good evening, you guys, and welcome to another edition of Longevity Kitchen with me, Julie Gibson Clark. Tonight, we are going to be talking about tea, specifically green tea. And of course, you know me, at the end of this video, there will be a concoction, so stay tuned for that one. But I thought because, you've probably heard that it's good for you, and I thought, let's review some of the benefits and some of the things, the cautionary tale. I will tell you an actual cautionary tale involving yours truly, and it'll be a great example of how to think about your journey in longevity in general, but also, as it relates to tea. So let's get started. So I thought I would print out, I actually did a quick Google search thinking, maybe I'll come up with just a few things to tell you that are the benefits for tea, but the list is long. So let me read it to you because there is no way I'm memorizing this. So, may help lower LDL cholesterol. Some research shows protective effects against certain cancers, linked to improve insulin sensitivity, may contribute to bone health, may help lower blood pressure, may protect against arterial stiffness, may protect against cognitive decline and neurodegenerative diseases like Alzheimer's and Parkinson's, may enhance focus and cognitive function. Not may, I can tell you that for sure, it happens for me. And contains antioxidants and polyphenols that can help reduce inflammation throughout the body. May boost the immune system. Studies have shown that regular tea drinkers may have a lower risk of all-cause mortality from various causes, including cardiovascular disease and stroke. And it may help you fly. Okay, it's not going to help you fly, but that's a long list. And now obviously you heard the mays and perhaps and potentially, because nobody can say for sure, right? So those are the long literal laundry list of benefits of green tea. But there are some things to watch out for. And so I'm just going to use myself as an example. I have been drinking tea. I started drinking black tea when I was a young girl, and I would drink it with cream and sugar. And that just became my go-to drink. And I quickly learned that the caffeine in coffee was just too much for me. I can't handle too much caffeine. It actually shows up on my genetics, like there's a genetic SNP for this apparently, and my dad's kind of the same way. I cannot handle so much caffeine. So this is about as much as I can handle, and it's gotta be before 10 o'clock in the morning, or it still might impact my sleep. So I'm just a very slow digester. So tea is perfect for that. So I've never really been a huge coffee drinker. And so when my son was little, and I used to try to get up really early before him. And this was when I was actually going through chelation therapy. And I would make this big pot of black tea, and I would get up at no joke, 3:30 in the morning, because he was always up at 5. And I thought, well, give me a little time to get some work done. So I would just put the tea leaves in the teapot. I would brew, the nice hot water on the black tea, and I would brew it. And then I would just let the leaf sit in there because I loved it super bitter like that. Because again, I'm mixing it with honey and cream, and it just tasted really yummy to me. So I just leave them in there. And as I'm going for my chelation therapy and we're measuring my different levels, she's watching, I think it was my arsenic was rising, and she's saying, what are you doing? What are you consuming? Because this shouldn't be going up. This should be coming down. And she asked me, the first thing was rice, which we could talk about too. And then she said, do you drink tea? And I said, oh yeah, absolutely more. And I told her how I drank it and how I made it. And she said, no, you need to stop that. You should never brew your tea for longer than 2 to 3 minutes, because tea as a plant has an affinity for heavy metals. So even if you're getting organic tea, if you don't know anything about the soil that tea is grown in, it will pull the metals from the soil. So even if it's perfectly healthy soil, but it just happens to have, more arsenic or lead or cadmium is the other one, that plant has an affinity to suck that out of the soil, which is, kind of beautiful in some ways, but obviously now that's in the plant, and then when we drink it, we're exposing ourselves to heavy metals. Now, we could be splitting hairs, but I feel like if I'm going to drink something every single day, like if I were to go out and just, have tea and not know whether it has heavy metals in it, I'm not going to worry about it because that's that every once in a while exposure. I think my body's pretty smart. It'll handle it. It's just this, if I'm doing this every single day like I drink, I want to make sure that the tea I get doesn't have heavy metals. So I went down the path of researching, what's the perfect tea to get. And I found Trader Joe's on Consumer Reports. I found Trader Joe's, although it did test positive for some lead. It was like at a, quote unquote safe level. And it also has the, the EGCG, which always sounds like that punk rock club, CBGBs. But anyway, EGCG in there, and it has one of the highest amounts. And so I thought, for the money, great, this is what I'm going to drink every morning, and I'll show you how I brew it. And great, I'm avoiding heavy metals, I'm getting all the benefits of tea. And now, probably like you, we're all hearing about the microplastics in the tea. So apparently these tea bags, and for the longest time when I heard about it, that I was thinking just those pyramid tea bags that are kind of plasticky. I'm sure you've seen them. They're, seem like a beautiful solution to tea, but even these paper bags, now I don't know about Trader Joe's, but these paperish looking bags can also have microplastics in them. So then when you put them in the hot water, you're melting that plastic into your drink. So yay, huh? So it's just a constant, I think, we always try to, I feel like the story illustrates, like, we think we're going down a healthy path, but you always, particularly with the things that you're doing every single day, you always want to make sure, is there anything I need to watch out for here? I would have never thought that brewing tea for a long time would actually, be detrimental to my health. So thank God we've got, ChatGPT and Google, so you can kind of at least ask, are there any potential downfalls to doing X, Y, and Z? Is there, so you can at least get a little bit more information on that. Okay, so that's the two cautionary things about tea, right? Heavy metals and microplastics. Those are the two things you really need to watch out for. One more thing, which is probably splitting hairs, but I'm going to mention it anyway because you might find it in your research. When you drink tea with milk, particularly cow's milk or a high protein milk substitute, probably like soy milk, those proteins can, dampen the effect of the polyphenols as it enters your body. The positive is, if you do have some stomach issues with any green or black tea, that can also help curb any of those tummy issues, but it apparently can dampen some of the impact of the polyphenols. Now, again, if you're drinking the tea every day, you're still getting plenty. It's not as if you're getting none. It's not, negating them 100%, but, it's dampening it. So maybe if you're somebody who drinks it every so often and you're really just trying to get that polyphenol hit, then that's the time not to have those types. They actually did say that coconut milk in particular, or any of the lower protein substitutes was good, but coconut in particular, apparently there was something, and I don't remember, apologies, but that works synergistically and helping with the absorption of the polyphenol. So it was better, so if you did need to use a nut milk, that might be something to add. So anyway, I just wanted to fill you in. If you're going to drink this every day, I wouldn't stress over, whether you have it with or without milk. Have it the way that you enjoy it. Okay, so let's talk about the different types of tea. Now, there are two kinds of tea that we're not going to talk about tonight, which are black, oolong, and I think there's pure tea. I don't even know how to say that. I've never had it. There's many types of tea, but in the kind of, what you can make with that typical tea plant, there's white tea, green tea, black tea, oolong tea and black tea. And that has to do with, I think, how much they oxidize those leaves before they, I would say, either bag them up, or in the case of matcha, matcha is actually just tea leaves all ground up. So you're drinking that whole leaf. Like unlike this one, you're going to steep it in water and then the tea, the leaves will be thrown away and you'll have the water. When you have a matcha tea, you are going to have the actual leaves. So this is where you really want to be careful about metals because you will be ingesting that plant. So you want to be super, super careful. So after the whole microplastic fiasco, of course, I went on another search for, where can I find some low toxic, low heavy metals or tea with no metals? And up came this company called UT. And I'm really happy, actually it did, because I've been drinking matcha for eons, and it's always been a little bitter, a little bit too punchy for me, and so I never drank a lot of it. And this is like the smoothest, and if I had a word for it, creamiest matcha I have ever had. I truly enjoy it every single morning. I literally in the past, I would have been drinking it going, okay, it's good for me, which is where my concoction at the end of this video is going to come from. But this, I couldn't just drink it plain every day. This, I can drink plain, no problem. I absolutely love it. I cannot say enough great things about it. But they were kind enough to send me this sampler pack, and I wanted to go over a couple of the other teas that are in here. So for the matcha, or typically when they're doing these like tea for benefits of cancer in particular, they're looking at people that are drinking 4 or 5, 12 cups of tea a day. Well, I already told you I can't have all that caffeine. That is way, way too much for me. And so I was grateful that they actually make a decaf matcha. So you can get it, just by the way, they have these little sticks that have one perfect serving. So great for travel, or if you just don't feel like measuring it out every day, or you can get these packs and then you can measure out. And I think you're supposed to measure out 3/4 of a teaspoon. And I'll show you how we make it in just a second. But that was the one I really ordered it for the matcha, but I was so grateful because they also sent me their sencha. They have a sencha tea, which comes also, yes, let me make sure this is the sencha tea, which is a little grassier. It's not like punchy, like the other kind of matcha I was getting. And by the way, I was getting the ceremonial grade, and I was paying like top dollar. I remember at one point when I bought a huge bag of matcha tea, and I felt like I was like dealing drugs. I mean, this thing is just this huge bag of like powdered green tea, and it was not cheap. But I thought, my God, this is, at any rate. So I have gone down that path and tried to get the best, and I kind of gave up on matcha. But, after this whole microplastic thing, I thought, okay, I'm going to go back, and I'm really happy I have, because this really is just creamy. Okay, sorry. Now we are on to sencha, which is just a little bit brighter, a little grassier, still has that kind of creamy note, but just a little different, also made in decaf. So again, you can have that. And I think the cancer studies that this tea was involved sencha in particular. So if you specifically want to get that, then make sure to order the sencha. But the two others that they had, which I have always wanted to try, so I'm going to mess these up, so pardon me, you guys, but it's hojicha, which is roasted. So they take the matcha powder and they roast it. And so it's got this if you're trying to switch maybe from coffee to tea, this is for you, because it's got a very bold flavor. I'll make a cup for you I'll make it for you in a glass container so you can see it's actually even like dark brown, and it's just got this very earthy, smoky, beautiful flavor. I can't wait I'm going to play around with some concoctions. There probably is going to have to be chocolate involved as well, but again, it's so beautiful. I hate to mess it up too much, but that's the other one. And then this is called genmaicha, and genmaicha has corn in it. No, excuse me, toasted rice. It has toasted rice in it. And I think genmai means rice, and then cha is tea, again matcha. So it has the toasted rice. Now these are not like the traditional, if you were to buy it in a tea shop, you would see the green leaves and then you would see the little puffed rice in there, and then you would make your tea from that and strain it. This is actually powdered just like a matcha, and so you get that full flavor, and it really does taste, has this really nice rice flavor. I don't know how to explain it. It is such a cool thing. So if you can order a sample pack, I'm not sure how that works, if they just sent it to me because I was saying what I'm doing. I'm not sure. But I highly recommend, if you're looking for some kind of new flavor in the morning, definitely worth a try. And then on the packages and in the marketing materials, they show how much caffeine, kind of like lots of caffeine, a little bit of caffeine. Let's see if I have a box here and you can kind of see. I love how beautifully designed their packages are. I was a graphic designer. I don't know if you guys knew that, but so the design as well appeals to me, but it's actually also good. So on the back of each package, it kind of shows like, okay, this is the caffeine, how much L-theanine, how many polyphenols, and free aminos. I think that says, I don't have my glasses on, but, and so it kind of gives you a rating based on those things so you can see. And of course, all of these things can be made hot or cold. So you can totally do this, but if you are on a strict budget, Trader Joe's is pretty good for your money. And let me show you how to make it without, in a way to avoid the microplastics. The flavor is a little different. So we'll start with that. And then I'm going to show you how I make some matcha, and then we'll make a concoction. Okay, so we didn't talk about one more little thing to think about when you're brewing green tea. All the research I found said you need to brew it up to a certain temperature, or you were destroying some of the benefits, the polyphenols, and maybe some of the other benefits of green tea. And that ideal temperature was 160 to 180 Fahrenheit, with 175 Fahrenheit being the sweet spot. And I got you guys in the metric system. That is about 70 to 80 degrees Celsius, with 70, I think it was like 78 being the sweet spot. And that, if you went over that, apparently you were destroying some of the benefits of the plant. However, when I was doing the research on UT's site, I was shocked, I suppose. I don't know, I was surprised to see that they said that actually up to, none of the EGCGs were not destroyed even up to 200 degrees Celsius or 392 degrees Fahrenheit. So, I don't really know, that is the long and short of it, but if you have a teapot that's got a temperature gauge on there, I'm going to set my temperature gauge. I'll link this in the show notes. It's just a silly little thing I've got on Amazon. I didn't, there's certainly more fancier versions out there, but if you don't have a temperature gauge, just bring your water to a boil and then let it sit for like 2, maybe 3 minutes, and then brew your green tea. Again, apparently that doesn't seem to be a problem with the UT, but I'm still kind of just careful about it. Plus, who wants to drink it that hot anyway? But when you're steeping it as well. So that's just something to think about. So I'm going to set this and then show you how I dump the tea in there. So this, let's see, you just set the temperature you want it to go at. I'm going to say 180 and start that. And then you take Trader Joe's, which Trader Joe's isn't organic. I forgot to mention UT is organic, so yay. But I don't think this is organic, but again, it's very high in the EGCGs, and low, it did have some lead in it, okay, but again, not a problematic level, at least according to consumer labs. Ooh, this is gonna get noisy, so let me just quickly, so you can see what I did there. I just basically cut it out of the bag. So now we don't have to deal with the bag. Okay, and then just dump it into a teapot or whatever container you have. And I will bring you back here when this is not so noisy. Okay, it's almost done. Just a second here. Ready? Okay, so now this is done. You can hear it never boiled. Maybe you can't hear that, but you're just going to pour it on your leaves. And again, have some fun with it. Okay. Now this is a 2-cup container. I think most tea bags are meant to go with 6 to 8 ounces. So I use 2 tea bags or 1 tea bag per cup. And so this is about a 2-cup container. And you can just see it's just gonna brew. Now, again, you know, this is a little messier, but it is a really great budget option. If you're trying to get those polyphenols and you have a Trader Joe's near you, this is a good one. If you don't, then I would encourage you to get on Consumer Labs. They do have a good review of different brands. There were a few others, but they were considerably more expensive. For the price, you couldn't beat this. So we're gonna let this sit for 2 to 3 minutes, and then we're gonna just use a tea strainer. Highly recommend you get a tea strainer. We'll strain it off. And this kind of tea, the brewed tea, you can have on its own, which I absolutely love. But as I made in one of my first concoctions, you can mix this with the Symbiotica creamer, which has got the coconut milk in there, powdered coconut and vanilla, and then a great thing. And then the other thing I'm actually crushing on is mixing my green tea with this, the Symbiotica liquid colostrum. It just really has a nice like flavor. Now again, we are adding milk proteins to it, but it is really, really good. So if you're somebody who would like some milk with it, or you know that, and again, you could add cream, you could add milk, you could add a little bit of honey, you can add, I've been known to add collagen protein to it, collagen protein and a little bit of honey before a workout. That's a nice thing you can do. But again, I try to enjoy it plain and just see, like, there's just such beautiful subtleties to different types of tea, and tasting this versus the UT, or, you know, maybe if you have a way to buy some different green teas and do your own sampling, that's really kind of fun. All right, I've been probably yapping for several minutes, so I'm just gonna stir this up. Really make sure it gets nice and brewed, and then you're just gonna use your tea strainer, and then boom. Now, if you're going to mix something in that, I would stop halfway through and use the, you know, the colostrum or whatever you're going to do, and then use your mixer. But let's just make, you know, so some of the leaves I can see because they're so fine, I can see them in the bottom of this cup, but it's really not that big of a deal. So that's kind of the budget way to hack this, and it is absolutely beautiful. I'm not going to drink very much of this because it does have caffeine. Again, 2 bags of that in the morning, and like, I'm good the whole morning. That's like my pre-workout. So that's how much caffeine I need. So let me make some of the other ones for you just so you can see the color, and then we'll make the concoction. Just a second. Okay, so this one, the back of each box will tell you, this says to set it to 185 degrees Fahrenheit. Sorry guys, I don't know what that is exactly in Celsius, but I would imagine that's probably about 80-ish Celsius, probably a little over 80 Celsius. And mixing it with 6 to 8 ounces of water. So I'm just gonna fill up half of this. So I set that to 185. And I just want you to see, I wish like the smell could come through because it's just such a beautiful, bold smell. But I'm gonna just pour on a little bit of water. Oh, the smell is just so cool. It's like, I don't know, like kind of like coffee. And then you can use the traditional bamboo whisk, but I'm telling you, this is the greatest thing ever. Now you can see I didn't do quite 6 ounces, but we'll do a little bit more. But you can see how the color of this versus, I'll make some matcha for you in just a second. So that's about 6 ounces. And it just has such a bold flavor. Okay, here's that. I'm gonna pour it in this cup. I'm gonna have to get some glass cups, but you can see. My son and I both love the Japanese garden here in Phoenix, and we went down there and bought these cups because we both have this yearning to go to Japan, and I definitely will go to a tea ceremony. That is definitely on a bucket list for me. But so this is just, again, on the caffeine. So if I were to not, I don't think I really need to have it decaf, because in terms of caffeine on the back here, it's showing me that it's very light. And I have indeed had this in the afternoon and had no problems with sleep. Oh, It's just like if you're craving kind of more of that bold coffee flavor, but you're not going to have coffee, this is the way to go. It is so, so good. Let me make a matcha for you, and then we will make a concoction so you can kind of see the color difference. Okay, so now we're going to make the matcha, and so you can see the color difference between these two, and then we'll make a concoction. Okay, actually, they say to pour a little bit of water in here, and that way the tea doesn't kind of stick to the bottom of your container, and then you just pour this over the top. Otherwise, you kind of get these powdered globules stuck to the bottom. So this kind of helps that from happening. Yeah, I just get that all mixed up, and then I'll add a little bit more water. But again, about 6 to 8 ounces. So I'm just going to do a full 8 ounces. Here we go. But see, can you see the color difference? So this is the same thing, just roasted. So they take this matcha powder and roast it and get this hojicha, which is so cool. Just again, I wish that like there was a way that we could have Whiffstagram so that, you know, you could smell these things. And this is like, yeah, smells, oh gosh, I don't even like, not even like, I know a lot of people think matcha tastes like grass clippings, but that's probably because you've had bad matcha. I myself included would have said that. Now that I've had the real stuff, like the good stuff, I never say that. This is like, it's creamy and rich and smells, it just smells delish. And this smells a little bit like coffee. It smells a little more bitter than coffee, but it's just, it's so interesting. It's absolutely interesting. So it's just been a really fun thing for my brain to kind of get its head around, which is fun. And then of course there's again matcha, which I won't make for you because it's kind of somewhere in between these two, and just has that kind of ricey, carby kind of flavor to it. You'll have to explore on your own. So now let me get this cleaned up and I will make a very wonderful concoction. Okay, here we go. Okay, in setting this up, I realized, you know what, you're gonna get a twofer. We're gonna do 2 concoctions because when I make this, every time I make this, I feel so guilty because it is really full of sugar. So any of you guys that are struggling with glucose issues, definitely do not have the first one I'm going to make you on an empty stomach because it has coconut water, the juice of 1 orange, and 1 cup of coconut water. And 1 cup of coconut water has 12 grams of sugar. So I noticed now that I'm using CGM, if I have this on an empty stomach, it can spike my blood sugar. So I just know that I need to have this like with a meal, like post-workout. It's a great recovery drink. And I also sometimes put some collagen protein in there too. But so let me make it for you. It's absolutely delicious. And then I'm going to make you a second one that's much lower in sugar. So this starts with, like I said, a cup of coconut milk, actually, or coconut water, excuse me. You could make it with coconut milk, I guess, actually, maybe, I don't know, might be good, but a cup of coconut water. This is just like the perfect summer refreshing drink, pick me up kind of thing. A little bit of sugar, a little bit of caffeine, lots of hydration from the coconut water. I don't know, I love it. So again, a cup of coconut water and then whatever juice 1 orange yields. And maybe it could be a little healthier if you just, put it in a blender with all of that, the little fibery bits. And those in there, and then we're going to put a whole teaspoon of matcha tea. I think the serving is 3/4 of a teaspoon, but I like the kind of the bolder flavor in here. So that's that. Okay, there we go. All right. Ooh, this is broken. I'm making a big mess. Excuse me. Okay, and then we're going to do a teaspoon of the matcha. Now, if you got that in the sachets, then just use the 3, because a sachet would be 3/4 teaspoon. But just do 1 full teaspoon if you get this size. And you can use any green tea that you want. And you can use the sencha as well. That actually is just as good in here. But we're just going to mix this up. Look at that beautiful green flavor. It's just for green color, excuse me. It's just, I love this drink. I absolutely love this drink. Now I am making this one with the fully caffeinated, so I'm only gonna have a few sips of it because it's like 5 o'clock here. What is it? 6:30. Oh my gosh. Well, we've been having fun, haven't we? So I'm gonna do some ice. Let's see here, I'll take some of that out. Okay, and look at that. It's just heavenly. Okay, there's that. My mess here. Now, okay, that is really good. Like it's so refreshing. Okay, so let's make the lower sugar version of this. So I've got a cup of water, which, sorry, I didn't convert for you guys, 200 mLs of just plain water or 200 mLs of coconut water. And then whatever the juice of one orange happens to be. Now, if you really want to punch that up and you have small oranges, then maybe you want to do, 2 oranges. But we're just going to do the juice of 1 lemon plus the water. And I love this silly little thing. It makes life so much easier. They do have one for oranges as well. I just need to buy it. I've been stuck with that broken one for now. But anyway, so there is my lemon water. And we're gonna add our green tea. So this is the decaf because I am gonna enjoy this one this afternoon. That's going. And then of course we need to sweeten it. So now we're just making basically more like a typical matcha lemonade. Okay, and I'm gonna start with 1. But you can see this mixes just as beautifully with cold water as it does with hot. No big deal. And then I love these whole earth sweeteners. It's stevia, leaf, and monk fruit. I'll have a link. I just get it on Amazon, so I'll have their Amazon link on there. Okay, so there's that. And I'm just gonna start with 1. Okay, we'll get that. And this is going to be my little afternoon refresher. And then you'll just have to decide how sweet you like it, I think it's going to need a second one. I can never remember. So that's like way too lemony without it. The second one. So I could back off, maybe do half a lemon, but I really like this. Okay, so we've got our regular regular matcha with the juice of 1 orange, 200 mLs or 8 ounces of coconut water, or you can do a lower sugar version, which is just 8 ounces, 200 mLs of regular water, juice of 1 orange, the decaf matcha or regular matcha. And I use 2 of those sweetener packs, but you can, sweeten as you like, and you could sweeten it with whatever you want if you don't have a glucose issue. So that's it for tea, you guys. I hope that you give it a try. I genuinely do. And if you've never slowed down, maybe in your city, look to see if you have a Japanese garden or some kind of tea house that will do like a tea tasting ceremony. And I would just encourage you to really take the time to slow down. It's something you do need to slow down and be mindful and taste all these very subtle differences in different teas. It's really a beautiful experience, and it's really good for your mindfulness. So that's it for the evening. Enjoy and have a wonderful week. Oh, it's me again. Sorry, not rid of me yet. I totally forgot to tell you that I had reached out to UT when I went to order it, and they are going to make me an affiliate, and that means that you get a discount code. So yay, 20% discount. So there'll be a link in the show notes for you to use. And then there is also like I think it's Jules GC if you wanted to use that. But if you use that link, it'll automatically add the 20% discount for UT. So if you wanted to try that, not a big sell here, guys. I want you to, do what you want. Trader Joe's, obviously I'm not an affiliate for them. So so you can go get that, or get on consumerlabs.com and do some research. There are other brands on there, but they're all particularly quite expensive. There are many brands out there, but just do your research. Look for something that shows that they have been third-party tested for heavy metals in some fashion. If it's not by Consumer Labs, then like these guys have a third-party testing on their site, and I'm sure there are a few other brands, but I fell in love with this immediately, and I love the brand line. So I'm super excited, and I hope that you give it a try. If you do and you enjoy it and you try these things, please let me know how it goes. All right, now enjoy your week.